What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions episode. I'm Cameron Selby, and we're going to be going through some of our league winners. This is the big boy stuff that we're starting to get into. End of July, we're starting to get into some drafts. I actually have my first one next week for a redraft league. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, but we got to think through some names because we've been doing a lot of best ball content, and ADPs are way, way different. One, they're sharper, but two, it's a different strategy because this, you got to make start sit decisions. You got to think of matchups at the end of the season. How are you going to get there? How are you going to maintain? But I put together a list of 8 names that I think are notable in terms of ADP. And this is Yahoo, Sleeper, ESPN. Of course, their ADPs are pre-movement of the Rishi Rice news of the world, the Quinshon Judkins, and all that stuff that has happened and transpired over the last week or so because they're kind of slower. Not many people are doing mocks on those platforms yet. So it's a little different. So a guy like Xavier Worthy, for example, big beneficiary of Rasheed Rice going down. He is not on this list despite being a 6th round ADP because he won't be that by the time you actually do your big money leagues. So 8 names that I don't expect to rise a ton, but are in really good spots and I think good leverage against your league mates and all that fun stuff. So enough chit chat and let's get right into it. So starting it off, we are going to go with somebody that we've talked a lot about. And again, some of these guys you've already heard us talk about on slides and previous episodes and also in live streams and stuff like that. But Nico Collins is no different. He is going right at the 1-2 turn. Overall is basically the last first round pick or early second round pick. And we're taking the stand on him in the wide range of receivers because truly you can't go wrong with the Puka, the Malik Neighbors, the Brian Thomas Jr., the Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially when it's a PPR format. But with this guy, we're just taking a stand on its volume. It's just the target king is what we would expect this year. I think he's a dark horse to lead the NFL in targets. You have Stephon Diggs departing. Takedown is not going to be there. You have Dalton Schultz, who is a non-factor in the red zone and has fallen off tremendously in terms of fantasy relevance in recent years since going to Houston. And a couple of rookie wide receivers from Iowa State, and Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and also Christian Kirk, who just got cut by the Jaguars after back-to-back disappointing seasons and injuries. So on top of that, worst offensive line in football, a lot of downgrades. So there's going to be a lot more passing situations because you're not going to be able to make big plays and stuff like that through the ground like you were in previous years. Joe Mixon is still going to get his, but Nico, we're just saying that this is the guy. He had a really efficient season with CJ Stroud in his rookie year, where he had about 80 catches on 110 targets, pretty efficient for wide receiver one, nearly 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. Last year was having a hell of a year to start the year, went down with a hamstring injury, and as soon as he got back, he pretty much kind of stayed as is. He was pretty consistent all season long in terms of fantasy relevance, and even through his advanced numbers, he was like number 3 in the league in yards per route run. True catch rate was his explosive rating was top 5, dominator rating top 3. Fantasy points per route run, he's just at the upper echelon and number 1 in the NFL target rate versus man coverage. So he just kind of really thrived. He just kind of got hicked up. He just suffered a hiccup about 5 weeks into the year. But as soon as he came back, I remember, his first play of the game against Dallas, 75-yard touchdown gets called back, and then just has an okay game from there. But it would have been a true dominating game. And again, he did no wrong, especially at the ADP he was last year because he was at the end of the second round, I believe, and he did just fine as long as you were able to get through. This year, if he is going to be going at the 1-2 turn and you just have to take a stance, I like taking stands on guys instead of just spreading my money and going 8% to every single guy. I'm just, anytime I get a chance in the 9, 10, 11, 12 pick, and I don't have a running back falling to me that I love, I'm taking my shot on Nico. It's all about the volume and the workload he is going to receive as long as he is healthy. We expect him to rival being a top 3 receiver overall in fantasy football this season, and we're really excited about him. So it's not going to be any different, and as long as his ADP kind of stays at the back end of the first round, we're just going to load up on him. Next up, we're going to jump over to running back, and this is a guy that we really love as a really safe option. And if you had him last year, it was frustrating throughout the season, but he might have won you your league if you were able to hold on and survive the storm. I mean, at the end of the year, he was lights out. He averaged over 25 points per game PPR wise. He only had 3 receptions in that span. So it was high volatility, goal line work, all that stuff. 5 touchdowns in 3 games to end the fantasy season or postseason, and just had really strong matchups. And this year is kind of the similar thing, going to Seattle, San Francisco, who's bad against the run, and then Jacksonville, obviously a porous defense that will target all year. That's a great stretch and a great schedule. And each of the last 3 years, missing some time with an injury, it was an ankle sprain, it's a back, it's all this and that, all minor stuff, but just gonna delay and hamper you throughout the season. while he's healthy. He's having a full offseason so far, and he's a running back right now that is kind of being forgotten about because he's in the Bucky Irving, the Devon Achane range and tier. And with all those guys being high PPR guys and exciting names, he's just kind of left alone right now. And so even though his ADP on Yahoo and ESPN are at 14, that is, high investment at the 1-2 turn. That means if you do have the end of the first round pick, you're going Nico and then maybe JT. That's a hell of a start in my estimation. Really, two anchors to heavily rely on. He's going to get all the volume he can if and when he stays healthy. Again, last time he did have a fully healthy season, led the league in attempts, yards, touchdowns, league winner, and then that's what made him the 101 the following season. So we expect to bounce back. He's one of the most talented running backs in football. Just a little frustrating, kind of dealing with some minor injuries over the years. So really like him. I think he's one of the safest guys. I think he's right neck and neck with a Derrick Henry-esque reliability factor, but no one has him in that discussion because Derrick Henry doesn't get hurt. Well, Jonathan Taylor has been hurt. So it's one of those things you have to kind of lean on the fact that I got to hope and pray that he doesn't get dinged up, but that's what you are with every running back. You can't just fade running backs because of injuries and just assume because a running back last year was healthy, he's going to be healthy the entire season. It's one of the hardest positions to stay healthy. It's one of the hardest positions to stay healthy throughout the season. So I'm not really worried about those kinds of things. And if he does go down, we've talked about on our handcuff video, DJ Giddens, one of our favorite running backs in the class, and we expect him to just inherit all the workload. So in deeper leagues where you're able to have more and more roster spots, handcuff, stack with him, lock and load. That's what I would say. And I'd be really happy about my situation if you ended up with him on your roster. And kicking it over, this is another no surprise. He's one of our most rostered players in all of best ball season so far. His ADP is actually much, much higher on these redraft platforms, but it's understandable, and I can't just leave him on this list with how all in I am on this guy. It's Kenneth Walker, and again, this is just straight up. He is going to have all the workload he can handle as long as he stays healthy. Again, that's just going to be a running theme and format for all running backs that you have to deal with. But Kenneth Walker, man, he just was one of the better running backs last year. Underrated. He was a low end RB1 in terms of points per game. Expected fantasy points per game was in the top 10. One of the better, more efficient seasons in terms of his pass catching work, which was surprising because he's not known as a pass catching guy, but there was games where he was getting about 5 to 8 targets during stretches of the season. But he's a guy that just every year takes 8 touchdowns, and he has the opportunity to get the 13 to 1500 yard all-purpose season, but we just haven't seen it yet. His first 2 years, he missed 2 games apiece, and then last year there was multiple stints where he missed a couple games due to residual injuries. But as soon as he comes back, even after Zach Charbonnet was a very reliable source and reasonable after his performance to say, hey, no, this is a 1B, 1A situation, they just gave it all back to him. Even in tough matchups, he's just going for 3 touchdowns off an injury against Detroit on the road to kind of try to keep things tight. And he's a guy that just DK Metcalf is gone, Tyler Lockett's gone. It's a whole new regime, Clint Kubiak, zone scheme. I just think everything is falling in his hands to just have a massive, massive contract year season. And I'm really excited for it. He has a lot to prove, and I think he is a guy that in the middle of the rounds is an RB2. He's my favorite by far in that range. Again, a little bit more pricey in redraft formats, but I think it's worth it. I think the safety is there. I think the upside is even higher than even most people would even like to imagine. Um, a lot of people typically aren't going running back in the first 4 rounds, but at the same time, pre-draft format, you got to have 2 safeties nets. I think it's really, really self-explanatory that this is the guy until he's not on the field, because it's not a performance reason why he hasn't had an absolute breakout season. The only thing is just injuries kind of holding him back a little bit. So, and in redraft, I hope that he doesn't go too early to where I'm not going to get as many shares as I'd like. So, lock and load with Kenneth Walker, and he's going to try to get Seattle back into the postseason with Sam Darnold and company. Next up, George Kittle. Again, another name that we love. He's one of our favorite tight ends, and the main thing is he's the red zone guy. And on top of that, all that has been lost in this offense. It's just one more year. The only thing is just age and his own injuries once again. No surprise there. So last year, obviously he was tight end 3 overall, but number 1 in fantasy points per game. He had 8 touchdowns, 1,000 yards for the second straight season. And on top of that, Debo is gone. Ayuk is going to miss part of the season and not be the same going out. There's Jawan Jennings saying, pay me or trade me. even though it's only 11 game sample size. And then Ricky Pearsall's already starting the training camp on the pup. So it's just like all these guys are just already injured, already out of it. And it's just you got George Kittle. And so we're riding George, we're riding CMC returning off of his, Achilles calf injuries that he was dealing with. And we're really excited about it. We view him and his upside as high, if not possibly higher than a Brock Bowers, than a Trey McBride. And they're going around or even two earlier than him. His ADP in redraft leagues are kind of boosted, but I think it's warranted to take a tight end this early because of the fact that there is such a gap. Even though there's a three-man tier at the top between the three, they're all in it. There's a massive, massive drop-off in reliability and consistency once you get down to, an aging Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta. I'm hoping TJ Hawkinson comes back. He was almost on this list as well. But at the same time, hey, there's also a lot of weapons to work with over there and a rookie quarterback. So, and he's never been a huge touchdown guy anyway. George Kittle is the red zone threat that is not CMC in San Francisco's offense. So if they're passing it, he's going to be the guy to look for. And I think he's going to have one or two more powerful seasons before he really starts kind of trailing off, as long as he stays healthy. We're really excited about him. And it's one of our favorite Week 17 matchups to target between Chicago and San Francisco. So we're just excited about what he can bring to the table. And even though you got to pay a premium for him, don't worry about it later. You don't have to do start-sit decisions and swap him out. You just got to worry about the buy. And then you can't be worrying about injuries when you're drafting this high in drafts. So let's go with George and let's let him guide us to the promised land this year. Next up, it's going to be a sophomore that a lot of people kind of down on because of the disappointing season. And it's Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, he was the first wide receiver off the board in the real draft and also in ADP wise last year in last draft. And there were so many dominant rookie seasons, 1,000 yards from everybody that you can imagine, in terms of Brian Thomas Jr. having a big year, Malik Neighbors having a big year, and really everybody other than Rome, which Rome had a ton of target competition with his two receivers. Marvin didn't, and outside of Trey McBride, but at receiver specifically, it just was not his year. And Marvin, it just kind of never really got off the ground running. His week one, I remember specifically because he was in a lot of my DFS lines, and he had one catch, 9 yards on like 2 targets against Buffalo, which was a good matchup, but it was kind of a windy game. Either way, it was an awful start for a top 5 pick, while other people are thriving because Malik Neighbors, before his concussion, he was basically, I think, wide receiver 1 overall, and Marvin Harrison failed to get to 1,000 yards, and he basically played every game. He missed essentially one when he got knocked out early in the game, and he basically had a 0 on his board, if I remember correctly. But the promising thing was just the amount of involvement he had in the red zone. 8 touchdowns as a rookie is pretty solid for a non-playoff receiver, and he was actually pretty strong in terms of the advanced metrics, win rates and against man coverage. He was top 7 in deep targets, over 1,500 air yards, and top 5 in terms of most unrealized air yards, 800 of them to be exact. So a lot of points left on the board, and he's a guy that we just expect a second-year leap. Usually wide receiver is much stronger as a second-year player. Last year I feel like it's kind of an outlier with the amount of 1,000-yard and amazing seasons we saw, but you're going behind Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, and I think one, as a talent, I think you're up there or still the top of your class, but going behind all of them by a full round or second round is just very, very interesting. And right now in redraft, with him going in the 4th round, and a lot of people just not wanting to click on his name because of where he goes, I just think it's good buy low opportunity. I think his talent presents himself to be worthy of being a second round pick. If his ADP for some reason in best ball started out right around where he was last year, which is at the 1-2 turn, I'm not fading him. I'm not. Maybe I would be smarter and just not put all my eggs in that basket, which I didn't do that last year, but it was just, I took a decent amount. Probably be overweight to the field, but that's not the case this year. You get him in the 4th round, and his overall rank for us is just really strong. His ADP as a best ball player is in the 3rd round. I think he is the last receiver in our rankings, wide receiver 12 to be exact. No coincidence that I am comfortable as a wide receiver 1 on my team. And obviously, if there are opportunities to take a wide receiver earlier, it just makes you feel even better if he is your wide receiver 2. But if you want to go running back, or running back tight end out the gate, or want to lock in one of the top quarterbacks in football, either Josh Allen or Lamar or Jaden early, I understand it. But going with Marvin in the 4th round, he's your one receiver, and I think it's a really, really smart bet. And if you were wanting to take a chance on him after investing so high in other positions, I think it's a safe bet. On top of that, there's a lot of value in the mid-range of receivers, especially in redraft, from what I can tell, at least early on with these ADPs. So the ADPs, because of redraft being behind, it's a full round behind. You're getting good value there. And on top of that, if Arizona is going to take a step forward this year, it's going to start by being more successful in the red zone, and it's going to be with Marvin Harrison at the helm. So him, Trey McBride, it doesn't matter. But James Conner, it's a 3-headed monster of how this offense is going to thrive. And on top of that, some really good matchups in the postseason, especially in the final 2, with Atlanta being one of the top targets last year. And on top of that, there's really, really good matchups in the fantasy postseason. You have Houston and Atlanta, who were 2 of the worst 3 in terms of giving up receiving touchdowns last year to wide receiver. And then at Arizona, which is the premier matchup in the finals or week 17 of the fantasy postseason. Cincinnati, Arizona should be both bad defenses, and I'm hoping that is a 45-42 kind of game. And if that is the case, Marvin Harrison is going to be thriving in all of those games. It's going to be a true breakout season. I expect him to get over 1,000 yards, rival some double-digit touchdown upside. And there's not a lot of other guys in this area or range that can provide that for you. So really feel good about him, and we're just going to expect a very big rise in his sophomore campaign. And flipping it to his other draft classmate, Rome Odunze. But Rome, again, it was forgiving. He was playing with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. That took a lot of targets away from him. And on top of that, Caleb Williams was very underwhelming. Even though statistically on the surface, it's okay for a rookie season. But the hype coupled with the other rookie quarterbacks that were really thrived and statistically really kind of hit the ground running, it was disappointing. But Rome, in spite of the bad quarterback play, in spite of the target competition, he still was very, very successful in terms of the advanced metrics. He was number 2 in the entire NFL in unrealized air yards with 917. And surprisingly, he actually had 18 red zone targets last year as a wide receiver 3 on his own team. That was number 10 in the NFL, and he only caught 7 of them, and only 3 of them were touchdowns. So that is going to have some natural positive regression. On top of that, Keenan Allen no longer there. Even though DJ Moore is there, they did add Luther Burden and first-round tight end Colston Loveland. I still genuinely think that Rome Odunze, it is in the range of outcomes that he is the wide receiver 1 overall on his team with or without an injury to DJ Moore. Even though DJ is a really good receiver, he's a Pro Bowl-esque receiver, multiple 1,000-yard seasons, I still think that Rome, there's a reason that he was drafted in the top 10. There's a reason that they took him in spite of picking up a Keenan Allen and going with DJ Moore, which obviously that was a previous trade with Carolina. So I think I expect really, really big things from Rome. And even if DJ Moore does have a successful season and return value on his ADP, I still think it's reasonable and a possibility that he could become a wide receiver 2 or 3 in this offense. And right now he's going at the back end of being a wide receiver 3 or 4 in the 7th, 8th round. I'm locking and loading him if I'm able to get him as a 4th receiver on my team, or even 5th receiver, depending on how many you have to get and how many fall to you early on. But I think he is a absolute league winner. Top of that, San Francisco lost a lot of bodies in the secondary. Green Bay lost a lot of bodies in the secondary. It's a lot of cold weather games in the fantasy postseason, but I think the opportunities are there. We expect a big jump from Caleb Williams and Rome as a total. And we expect a big jump from Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze combined, in addition to the fact that they also, again, brought in Ben Johnson. So a lot of positive things. It is a tough strength of schedule in terms of winning games, but winning games doesn't equal winning fantasy championships. It's all about the yardage, it's the production. So you may be an 8-9 team when I think you're better than that. That's not this video. This is, hey, who has the best opportunity based on their ADPs to possibly win you your league? And I'm just kind of all in on Rome at this point. I put him as a massive jump in terms of ADP. Nothing's really changed from our first ranking video when he was in the early 30s. I'm just more confident every single day about him the more that I think about it. And it's a better situation, better offensive line, better quarterback play, better offensive mind / coordinator, or better offensive mind being the head coach of football and not being sabotaging games. less target competition with Keenan Allen, and I don't think Luther or Colston will have so much of an impact that Rome is going to have a massive just mess season. So we're just kind of going in on him, and right now he's kind of late 50s, early 60s in a lot of best ball drafts and Underdog and Prize Picks. So getting him at the start of the 7th round or on Yahoo, getting him in the middle of the 8th round, sign me up. He is the first player that I'm prioritizing, especially on Yahoo, if I'm thinking about mid to late round receivers. So really, really excited for him, and I'm expecting big things. This one is a very simple math equation. Baker Mayfield, passing yards leader in 2024, elite fantasy postseason schedule. And obviously, if you look at the ADPs, this is the one of this entire video that there's not a huge jump in our rank compared to the other rank, but it's just one of those things where I don't know if he is worth going all the way to 54 on Yahoo to get, but at the same time, it's undeniable how great of an opportunity and setup he has. Mike Evans, obviously, 1,000 yards every single season. Chris Godwin was having an elite season before breaking his leg, but both of them were hampered with injury. So then he was playing with Jaden McMillan, Cade Otton. They were having millionaire maker kind of weeks with the stats they were putting up. And then you add Emeka Egbuka, my favorite receiver of this class, not in terms of number one rank, but guy that I really love. And I was kind of upset in the short term of just, man, I really wish that he could have gone to a better situation to where I would just draft the hell out of him. But is what it is. And maybe we'll get to him in a second. But regardless, Baker, he was a QB2 in the 12th, 13th round last year. Massive jump to QB7 in everybody's rank, essentially. He's going the 6th, 7th round, but he just is passing volume. Tristan Wirfs missing the start of the year. They're not going to have the line play that they would like. And on top of that, the running backs aren't the kind of guys that we're going to get 25 carries per game to our running back room. This is a spread the ball as much as you can. This is just, you have all the opportunity in the world to spread the ball around. And I know Liam Cohen is now gone. He's with Jacksonville. But Josh Grizzard, a good mind, was promoted internally. He was the passing game coordinator for this really great season that he just had. And on top of that, he has experience there. And then with Miami, with Mike McDaniel. So he has a good offensive mind as well. And there's a lot of pieces to feed, and it doesn't matter who you are stacking with in redraft formats. You just pick the guy that you think are good quarterbacks, and right now he's kind of sitting in the middle by himself in terms of the 6th, 7th round on most of the platforms. And in best ball, we haven't really gotten a lot of, because he's just kind of, I'd rather spend all the way up, or there's a lot of value to stack, and stacking is much more paramount in best ball anyway. So we're not getting a lot of Bucks receivers in the 3rd round, Mike Evans, or a 6th round off a broken leg, Chris Godwin at 30, or Emeka Egbuka. But at the end of the day, it's a good situation. It's a lot of fun. And Atlanta last year, 35 passing touchdowns allowed. Carolina, 34 passing touchdowns allowed. Miami just lost both of their starting corners and more secondary, and going to be one of the worst defenses in football. All of them will be in the state of Florida. No, all of them will be in the Southeast, so going to be warm weather environments. And it's just a lot of excitement. As long as Baker is healthy, even if a receiver goes down, next man up. Jalen McMillan is the 5th option on this roster, and he was allegedly a league winner last year with the amount of fantasy point floor that he had, getting 13 to 15 points in the opportunity he had without Chris Godwin there. So with Emeka Egbuka, a 1st round talent coming in, just imagine what the trio of them can do. I think it is on the board that if healthy, all 3 of those receivers, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Emeka Egbuka, can have 1,000-yard seasons at the same time. That's how confident I am in this passing game, and it all starts with Baker Mayfield. So it is a little pricey for my estimation. Like I said, a little bit lower ranked for ESPN. Yahoo, it's really early. I haven't seen it that early for ADPs. He's going in the 70s and in best ball for what it's worth. But it's the matchup, it's the volume, and it's the guy who led the league in passing. So it's just one of those simple things. You don't overthink it. And the last guy, we're taking a stand on Emeka Egbuka, and especially in redraft. This is a huge difference in ADP, especially on rookies, typically on redraft platforms compared to best ball. But this is just way, way too massive, especially on Yahoo. That is almost an undrafted ADP, going 161, and wide receiver 50, wide receiver 51 on ESPN. Look at Sleeper. Sleeper is more of a reasonable ADP for him. And this is not a guy that week 1 I expect to just go for 6 and 100 in the score like we saw from Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas Jr. and his success he had in the red zone and stuff like that. This is, you're going to have a really solid floor, and it's only going to get better late in the season. And all he needs is an injury to a coming off a broken leg 29-year-old Chris Godwin or a soon-to-be 32-year-old Mike Evans for him to absolutely vault into being a league winner, safe 8 to 10 targets a game on a high-volume passing attack. Obviously, the matchups are the same. I just read off the difficulties Atlanta that had last year, Carolina had last year, and then on top of that, what Miami is going to have this year. And if that said, say Mike Evans is going to be healthy during that run, say Chris Godwin is going to be healthy during that run. So that means that Emeka Egbuka is just going to get single coverage as the third, fourth option because a lot of people are also pumping up Bucky Irving. Sign me up. I think it's a great spot. It's a great opportunity. He may have to sit. This is a wait and see. This is a, hey, maybe trade middle of the season. It doesn't matter. I really feel good about this spot, about Emeka Egbuka. I love him as a talent. I love the situation. There's a high opportunity. The only thing is just there's a lot of bodies that are quality in the receiving game. But at the same time, there's plenty of balls to go around in Tampa Bay. And Baker, it's just we really believe in him coming off his 44 total touchdown, 4,500 yard season. There's just a lot of places where he could possibly get up to 600 pass attempts and just kind of really spread the ball around. And I don't think that Mike Evans has always been a consistent 10 to 12 target guy, especially in recent years. This is just, he's got the high volatility for the touchdown upside. Chris Godwin has been the more consistent, like 7 to 8 targets, but not the red zone guy. Early in the season, he was last year, but if Baker has the opportunity to get 40 touchdowns and have all the passing opportunities that he does, Emeka Egbuka, it's no secret that he could thrive. I know I did say earlier Baker led the league in passing. He did not. He had 4,500 yards. That was third in the NFL. But at the same time, he was top 4 as a fantasy points per game guy, and just really his true breakout season in terms of a fantasy player. True breakout season in terms of a fantasy player. So my apologies on that mistake. But like I said, the equation is very, very simple. You just pair Baker Mayfield, and I'm buying low on Emeka Egbuka, especially on these redraft ADPs, and we're just going to really thrive. It doesn't cost a lot. Maybe the premium that you have to pay on Baker makes it worth it when you get to kind of draft and stash Emeka a little bit, because for the first month of the season, I wouldn't expect, unless it's a really deep league, to even start him. But it kind of depends. You never know how good he can even really take off. So it's a little bit of a wait and see early in the season, but this is the league winner video. This is late in the season. Guys that we're not just relying on handcuffs and who, if this guy goes down, blah, blah, blah. I think he can have a safe, 12 to 14 point a game upside with other guys in the roster. So just imagine if Jalen McMillan can score 15 to 20 points on a lot of good matchup days late in the season last year without Chris Godwin, what Emeka Egbuka could do. So I really like the spot, and I'm excited for what Tampa Bay can do this year from an offensive perspective. So with that said, guys, that's all I got for y'all. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please leave a like, comment. Who are your league winners this year? Who is a guy that you are taking the biggest stand on to make sure that when you're drafting with your league mates, your big money leagues, who are you making sure? It doesn't matter if I have to reach on this guy, that I'm just going all in for on this season. There's a couple of guys I have on this team that I really expect to be on my team to rival my friends in the big leagues or the money leagues. Best ball, we have a ton of the guys that we mentioned, and we're going to be getting more as we go forward. So end of July, things can happen. Training camp is kicking off, but we really want to appreciate you guys joining in. We're going to be live streaming every single Thursday going forward for the most part, doing best ball drafts, and we're getting more and more into it. Please jump in that Discord if you do have any questions or want some feedback of your drafts and just want to kind of interact with us. I want to kind of expand this community a little bit, be a little bit more interactive this year going into year 2. It's a whole lot of exciting things. Emory and Dusty are doing a really good job with the predictions videos that are going on with the Power 4 of the college football season. It's a whole lot of fun that they're doing. We're going to be getting to more prediction videos as August takes place, but this is more the fantasy content. We're just getting in training camp and seeing what happens. I don't know if you can see Coda's my dog's head kind of flashing in and out of the screen, but we can't thank you enough, guys. Please get in those comments. Let us know what you think and who are your biggest stands. Tell me where I'm right. Tell me where I'm wrong. I don't really care. I just want to have a discussion. That's all I care about. But I guess he's hungry, so I'm going to get out of here. We will see you on the next one.